Greetings, humans. Today we'll look at the many crimes of Cyanide Mohan, a man who walked amongst the people of India disguised as a physical education teacher. He was a smooth talker, a charmer, and a seducer with a cunning mind and a deadly purpose. It was said that between 2005 and 2009, he killed around 20 women. All of them were unmarried girls that he had seduced into having sex with him. He was a serial killer, a predator, and a monster. The story of Cyanide Mohan began in the town of Bantwal, in the southern Indian state of Karnataka. He was born into a poor family and his childhood was marked by hardship and deprivation. But he was a clever boy and he worked hard to excel in his studies. He eventually went to college where he studied physical education. He was a natural athlete, but that wasn't the only thing people liked about him. He was also charismatic and had a way with words that would charm almost anyone. Before I continue the story, please note that this recount of events is presented for informational purposes only. Please show respect to victims of crimes and their families and be sensitive to their plight. And while you're here, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Click the notification button on your screen to get notified when I post new content. After college, Mohan got a job as a physical education teacher at a local primary school. He was a popular teacher, loved by his students and respected by his colleagues, but he had a dark side. He was a womanizer and had a habit of seducing young unmarried girls, whom he would often promise love and affection, and they would fall for his charms. But once he had them in his grip, he would force them to have sex with him, and then he would dupe them into swallowing these pills, which he claimed were contraceptives. It was a deadly game that Mohan played, and he was very good at it. He had a way of making his victims trust him, of making them believe that he had their best interest at heart, and then, when they least expected it, he would strike. He would slip the cyanide pills into their drinks or food and watch as they died a slow and painful death. He would then proceed to rob them of their jewelry. The first known victim of Cyanide Mohan was a young girl named Swati. She was just 19 years old, and she had fallen in love with Mohan. He promised her marriage and all the good things, and she believed him. But after they had sex, he gave her the cyanide pills and told her to take them. She died just minutes after taking the pills, and Mohan disappeared without a trace. Over the next few years, Mohan continued his killing spree. He targeted young girls from poor families who were looking for love and affection. He would seduce them, have sex with them, and then kill them. He became known as Cyanide Mohan, a name that struck fear into the hearts of young girls all over the region. The police were baffled by these murders. They had no idea who was behind them or what the motive was, but they knew that they had to catch the killer before he struck again. They launched a massive manhunt with hundreds of police officers and detectives scouring the countryside for clues, but Mohan was always one step ahead of them. You see, he was clever and he knew how to cover his tracks. He would always change his appearance and his identity, and he would move from place to place, always staying one step ahead of the law. It wasn't until 2009 that the police finally caught a break. They received a tip-off from a local informant who told them that a man matching Mohan's description had been seen in the town of Kasaragod in the neighboring state of Kerala. The police set up a trap and Mohan fell right into it. He was subsequently arrested and taken into custody. During the investigation into the murders, the police discovered that Mohan had a modus operandi. He would approach unmarried girls who were working as laborers or domestic helpers and offer to marry them and also help them find a job in a big city. He would then convince the girls to have sex with him, promising to marry them as soon as possible. Once he had gained their trust, Mohan would then give them a contraceptive pill that he claimed would prevent pregnancy. In reality, the pills were laced with cyanide, which would kill the girls within minutes of ingestion. The police used this information to set a trap for Mohan. They set up a fake marriage bureau and advertised it in newspapers and on billboards. Mohan fell for the trap and approached one of the fake marriage bureaus looking for his next victim. He was caught by the police then and arrested. During the investigation, the police found evidence linking Mohan to the murders. They discovered that he had a stash of cyanide pills in his possession and that he had used fake names and addresses to deceive his victims. They also found that he had participated in bank robberies and other financial forgeries, which he had used to fund his criminal activities. During interrogation, Mohan confessed to his crimes. He told the police how he had seduced and killed 20 young girls and how he had gotten away with it for so long. The news of Cyanide Mohan's arrest sent shockwaves throughout the region. People were horrified to learn that such a monster had been living amongst them for so long. The families of his victims were relieved that he had finally been caught, but they were also very angry, and rightfully so, that he had been able to kill so many girls without anyone stopping him. The trial of Cyanide Mohan was a long and grueling affair. He was charged with 20 counts of murder, and the evidence against him was overwhelming. The families of his victims testified in court, describing how he had seduced and killed their daughters, sisters, and friends. Mohan himself remained defiant, claiming that he was innocent and that he had been framed by the police. But the jury was not convinced. They found Mohan guilty on all counts, and he was sentenced to death. The judge described him as a serial killer of the worst kind and said that he deserved the harshest possible punishment. After being found guilty and sentenced to death on 5 counts of murder, he also received life sentences on the remaining 15 counts. He is currently incarcerated at the Hindalga Central Prison in Belagavi. Many people still expect Mohan to be executed at some point. Others feel that a life sentence will give him time to ruminate on his actions. Some people felt that justice had been served and that a dangerous killer had been removed from society. Others, however, felt that the death penalty was cruel and inhumane punishment, and that Mohan should have been given a chance to reform and repent. For this second school of thought, they believed that had Mohan been allowed to live, he would have been sorry for his actions and chosen a different life path for himself. But for the families of Mohan's victims, there was no doubt that justice had been served. They could finally rest easy knowing that the man who had killed their loved ones had paid the ultimate price for his crimes. Until next time, humans, stay safe out there.